Rider here. Welcome you back to another episode of Sleepy Hollow, the missing episodes. Last time, we have just defeated 3 of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And recently, we have just defeated the Horsewoman of Famine, Helen Donovan. So, we have the final horseman, Abraham Van Brunt, aka the former Headless Horseman because he just regained his head, thanks to Lucifer. So, we are dealing with Ichabod's old nemesis since the beginning of the series. Oh my goodness, I am looking forward to this. Because with them, the battle is definitely going to be intense. Especially that in Magnum Opus. Man, it's one of my favorite episodes here. But damn, this is gonna be like a huge plot twist. You'll see why soon enough. This is gonna be one of the most intense episodes ever. So without further delay, let's get this thing going. Alright, Chapter 9. Death has a name. Well, you'll find out later. Radical lightning and ear-shattering thunder ripped across an endless opaque sky. Just below the cities appeared to be abandoned and deserted. In a distant cave, Ichabod was clashing relentlessly with his former friend and longtime nemesis Abraham Van Brunt. Although he never looked like the Headless Horseman he knew all too well. Instead, he did have his head on, with a shaven scalp wearing the dreaded crown along with menacing red eyes that were gleaming with fury, hatred, and the joy of finally cutting him down. With his renewed strength, Abraham won over Ichabod in a duel of bloody fierce swordplay. He was standing and sneering over his battered opponent. Finally, at long last, you will meet your demise, Ichabod. There's no way for saving you since you betrayed your beloved, who put you to sleep for 232 years. And the best part is, she's been with me in hell, and that is where you will be for all eternity, for your countless acts of treason! He raised his burning axe over his foe's head and made the final cut to lop it off. Just then the witness startled himself awake at his own flat, his left arm as irritable as ever. Although his heart was racing and his body broke out in terror sweat, he was relieved it was all a nightmare, though he felt it was really a bad omen. He slowly rose and noticed his partner Laura was resting on a wooden table just a few feet away from him. She began to stir. Ichabod? She looked at him. He was still in sweat and breathing heavily. She slowly walked over to him. Ichabod, what's wrong? He looked at him in a dazed manner. Laura, Yes? What is it? It's my enemy, Abraham. Can't just be a night terror. He awaits me. What? My arm! He showed her the irritating sensation as the pentagram was glowing in a red hot. This brought some deja vu to him as he recollected his experience in the underworld, from dealing with his visions of the midwinter at Valley Forge, along with Laris at an orphanage, to descending the bone-chilling spiraling staircase, to meeting Lucifer and sealing the deal. It was in that flat where the witness made the passage to hell, which was actually covered up by a mishap using wood paint and then by a carpet. He still couldn't get the hang of it with modern synthetics. The last horseman we have to deal with is death. Even though it seems to be the outcome of all these crises, the tribulations, his associates. What is it? He's at the subterranean lair in Sleepy Hollow. I know he is. Put his hands on top of her shoulders. Laura, you know I had not abandoned you in the past, nor the future. I want you to promise me something. If anything should happen to me, I need you to save the world from evil. You already have the mantle of the witness. You must take my place and choose a successor. Ichabod, are you saying? She realized what he wanted, but he said nothing. He feared that after this duel with Abraham he may never return, and he'd been dreading this moment since the tribulations began. It took a few moments before she could find her words. Ichabod, we can win this, and so can you. You're a lot more skilled than you were before, and you have the virtue of prudence to protect you. She remembered when he described his bloody matches with death, both during the revolution and that enchanted cave where the Gorgon and the sword of Methuselah were. I know this is your fight. He's your enemy. But this is suicide. You can't win this on your own. I'm the only one who can defeat him, Laura. I must do this. He has led me to this place before, when he drove my destiny as a witness and a warrior. It was all thanks to him I realized my sense of belonging that day. And that dream. Laura lowered and reached for his hands. We cannot lose you. You're a witness and a dear friend. I've saved you from war, and maybe I can do it again. The two witnesses trapped by time, both acting as a ventricle and an artery. Like how we dealt with the direful Gallon. I can't let anything happen to you, Laura. Your place is here, remember? He referred to that day when Laura took comfort in the past after she helped defeat the Heart Devil. I understand your ambition, but it could not be helped. The effects of the slaughter will still wound you. I cannot let you go down with me. Then, I promise I will bring you back, she said with a tight throat, trying her best to compose her fears. I'll find a way to help you return to us. We'll be okay. You've been there for me in Molly's time and mine when the world seemed bleak and hopeless and full of anguish. Now it's my turn to owe you the same. Molly was right, as you were a beacon of hope, and you should never give up on it. We'll be there for you. I swear it. There's no doubt since she shared his destiny as well as their 5 chosen guardians. Without hesitation, he actually did something they never thought possible. For the first time, they had embraced each other. That's right. I'm making the witnesses the new couple. Forgive me, Abby fans, but honestly, it's time to move on. A lot of fans actually want a Cabby or a Katrina, but to me, it's a Clara. Or a Cara, as I would say it, Ikara. But yeah, I really want Ichabod and Laura to be a couple because, hey, why not? So Ichabod said he'll be facing the Horseman of Death alone? Gavin couldn't believe what he heard after Ichabod called the Volt. His plans were sewed up, and he can be a bit stubborn once he has a goal in mind. Couldn't accept this foolish idea. Gavin, it's all right. We only have him to deal with. The rest of them are badly weakened. But it wasn't helping much. Put a hand on hers. I don't think you understand. I mean, Ichabod's going against his old nemesis. He has lost to him before, on the battlefield back in 1781, and we can't save him since he won't be put into sleep again. I know. Our only hope is for him to stay alive. We never want his soul to be damned. It's more honorable this way for Crane to stand up against Abraham. He's the only one who knows him well. It's about time they'd end their lethal battles after so many years. Gavin faced her with droopy eyes. Don't worry. I'm sure nothing would happen to him this time. We have better weapons. We'll immediately give him treatment when he needs it. But that's all we can do. He was too emotional to say anything. All he did was lean into her and she held him tightly. Molly and Diana overheard them amongst the silence just a few feet away. Even they were shaken by his objective. Laura was buying into it. Young witness grew very anxious. Mom, are you sure Mr. Crane could win against the horsemen? I'm not sure, Molly. All we can do is pray for his victory. We'll tell when the virtue of prudence goes dim when his life force is in danger. I've realized that our virtues brighten and darken depending on our vitality. Whether or not we're in serious pain, ill, or corrupted. Dang errors. The governing virtue should be easy to spot. We would all be affected if Crane is suffering. Diana lost her grip as tears were pouring from her daughter's eyes. We have to do something. We can't let Mr. Crane go by himself. No one can beat death. If we don't get involved soon, he will die. Everyone was taken aback. Even Jake and Alex, who have been giving the weapons one more enhancement. They were mostly Ichabods, from his silver crossbow to the super soaker to the demon slayer Gavin offered, to the witness's own golden light shield. They were all covered in silt and holy water. The allies themselves were very unfortunate that he can't have the Holy Cross in his possession, since it'll only severely irritate his body on account of the cursed pentagram. He thought with certainty. Ichabod Crane, I hope it doesn't take a turn for the worst. I'm quite certain that Crane would be able to overcome Abraham Van Brunt. They are both skilled fighters, but we got the upper hand. His weapons are only primitive. I don't think it's that simple, Alex. He served Moloch and now Lucifer. He may have the home advantage. And he is death. Nothing could kill him. He's not the Grim Reaper, and he's just a horseman. We can do it since we've defeated his other 3 generals. I fear for the worst. Maybe too late saving him since his soul is damned. It may all be over. And what if they are strong enough to gain on him? I never thought of that. But we'll be there for him. She gave him a long look of baptism, then a quick peek on the check before they were busy like a pair of beavers. Storm reached Sleepy Hollow and ravaged outside the old church. The interior glowed as there were rows of candles. Despite the general aura, lightning was flashing. Priest announced the nameless panicked citizens. The time of salvation will arrive. The rapture is truly upon us. But no fret. The witnesses are here to save us from evil and despair. Let their strength give us shelter for the storm, and let peace grow throughout the world. Only they can determine our fate. As the sermon went, an enormous breeze came from underneath the altar. Flew open. Henry appeared before the cluster of troubled civilians, marched in, and the hallowed ground had no effect upon his interests. Look at your foolhardiness! You believe the witnesses shall aid us in our cause and help the suffering? They never have and they never will. Ichabod Crane and Laura Thomas. I never believed in them for a second. They are treacherous and capable of corruption. They are either A, doing nothing and letting civilization suffer, or B, fighting only for Lucifer. The world is still crumbling all around us, and you all have the witnesses to thank for that. The article's reading the world is destroying itself thanks to them. They are actually named as the destroyers that can take back from an ancient tablet 2,000 years ago. Everyone that had the mantle of the witnesses has been persecuted and soon killed for that same reason. They are monsters, making these calamities happen. They will only cause more bloodshed, waste away precious resources, make man fight against man, and let the horsemen roam the wretched world. They are responsible for chaos and may only worship the beast. Audience gasped. Some of them passed out as if striking fear into them. Either way, Whether you support the witnesses or not is up to you. But remember this well. They won't be your saviors, and they will perish anyway along with the feeble likes of all of you. Door slammed shut with his telekinesis before he exited, and the entire altar was enveloped in total darkness. Soon the witnesses returned. Everyone was just too shaken up, and Ichabod described his adversary. Death is the fourth horseman of the apocalypse, who rides a pale horse with hell riding right behind him. Timur looking at the large painting once more. He spells death for 1/4 of the earth's inhabitants. The war started by the Antichrist will finally reach its end with the 7 bowls of judgment. Thor pointed at the pale steed. This fourth rider symbolizes death that results from war and famine, when men turn against men, and the stars would fall. They already have. Diana showed them a display on her smartphone as there was so much damage. Every building in an enormous city was ruined. Smoke was rising from burning structures. The roads were crammed with abandoned or wrecked vehicles. The scene was as if doomsday really did happen. She described there was a meteor shower in New York earlier today, and other major cities had similar calamities as well. Much like in Armageddon. The news reminded me of just that, as if his uncertainties were justified. It's indeed a win-win situation for Abraham Van Brunt. The thick smoke rising from the ocean will block out the sun, and many of the active volcanoes will erupt in quick succession, causing the sky to turn from a dark crimson to black. And the great radical lightning that passed through here caused many power outages, extinguishing all light. With that, death cannot be hindered by natural nor artificial means. A third of sunlight was choked by the ashes, just like in the fourth trumpet. I just remembered something. There's a green ox horn. It was the same one that Donnie had shown her several weeks prior, although she grew concerned on his whereabouts. The trumpets are referred to in Koine Greek alsalpingos, or salpings. This was a straight narrow bronze tube with a mouthpiece of bone and a bell. They do not resemble modern trumpets. This catastrophe caused complete darkness for a third of a day, during the day and even through the night hours. Who are blowing these 7 trumpets? What about the bowls? Laura said that this is all part of the witness's destiny. The 7 bowls, also known as the 7 vials or cups, will not be poured till the 7 tribulations have passed, including the 3 last woes. Team were confused out of the order of events that befallen here. She said the 7 seals were supposed to be broken first, before the trumpets were blown. So far, 5 or 6 of them have already been operated. All that's left is the matriarchs crawling out from beneath the altar of the church. Currently, this was the beginning of the 6th seal. It would cause literal cosmic disturbances caused by nuclear war on a global earthquake that would cause volcanic debris to pollute the atmosphere, which would turn the moon blood red and the sun dark. In addition, there will be a massive meteor showers, the stars falling, which you've already seen, the blood moon. Thus follows the first half of the tribulation where God's wrath consumes the earth. Such wrath doesn't harm the church because it was already raptured before the tribulation began. Are we failing? No, Gavin, we are not. It means that the world is crying for saviors. And that is why they need us. We've been persecuted in the distant past, but we're the only ones who could stop this. All that's left now is Abraham as the Horseman of Death. And then what? We don't know, Molly. Gavin wasn't satisfied with those half-baked solutions. Who are they? Who are the 7 angels? Are these the ones we know? Then an epiphany had a startled look as he connected the dots. Can't be. His face turned pale as he recalled Jenny's dream, their fallen friends looking over them, covered his face in his hands. Gavin, what's wrong? Don't pity me. You know who the 7 angels were all along. Ever since you had that dream before we came here. Abby, Joe, August, Torgato, Washington, maybe Lori and Grace. That makes 7 there. Why the hell are they doing this to us? Calm yourself, Gavin. We don't know as of yet. I hadn't seen Donnie lately. Could he possibly be the one blowing it? The same trumpet we saw earlier? Gavin, Ichabod was going to die anyway, and he's willing to pay the penalty to seal the deal. But why? We're not immortal, and he's not going to make the same catastrophe that Dreyfus did. Jesus made the same thing when he sacrificed himself for our sins. I made a promise to save Ichabod if he should die after fighting Abraham. And we should too. So, what are you saying? Is that Crane is letting himself take the blow? So, what you're saying is that Crane is letting himself take the blow so we could bring him back? Yes, Jenny, that's the plan. So we'd no longer be damned and may stand a better chance. How do we do it? He'll lose his best friend. What matters now is that I shall vanquish the last of the horsemen. I will finish this and achieve my goal as a witness. I guess we should get going. Where is it anyway? Ichabod described the Gorgon's lair being at the end of a lake that seemed to have a snake in its forked tongue. He also stated that Lori left some clues to find the sacred blade of Methuselah, as well as a cartoon having an encrypted message that is supposed to be seen in a blurred reflection. Laura laid her hand on top of Molly's and restored her virtue to full power. She wanted the kid to stay strong and safe until their probable return. They each had the feeling that they may not be coming back, aside from Ichabod. It was the moment he's been dreading for so long on meeting his demise and being a lost damned soul. Gavin then gave Molly a parting gift, the book he had as a Christmas present last year, known as the Worst Case Scenario Survival Guide. This isn't goodbye. This is only for good luck. Never give up hope, like you said to Mr. Crane. She said she won't. Chief Falcor and his tribesmen would pray for their safe re-entry, and that the showdown should go in their favor. Soren Crane wanted him to look after Canny Cub until the triumphant return, or so they hoped. After a low signature bow that the witness always did, he and his team were soon off. During the 5.5-hour drive, they noticed a humongous ominous cloud with red lightning. They followed it to Frederick's Manor, where it was being torched from the inside. Fire was ablaze in all windows, and the roof collapsed. Its right side stuck up from the fiery hole. They could only watch the horror as one of Ichabod's treasured places went into ruin. He, Jenny, and Gavin had flashbacks of the place, mostly of Moloch during his temporary rise from purgatory, which you will see in Yakita. Even the binding ritual they and Abby thwarted with the cursed blade of Methuselah. Despite his anger, Ichabod ordered everyone to press on. Later, they visited the site of the 4 white trees. Laura recalled the place when she saw it vividly while scribbling in a notebook when she was younger. Jenny remembered seeing Moloch for the first time with her older sister as teens, though their lives were never the same after that. And believe me, they weren't. She also recalled being there after the 3 trees were burnt when she was bound as Henry was describing the Akita as was Ichabod. However, Gavin couldn't since he was incapacitated by him. Although the surgeon himself can only remember the site as where he met the Freemason and volunteered to be part of the team, Greenhorn's gamble. It's clear that all 4 of the trees have now been burnt black by the menacing lightning, symbolizing that Ezra's opinion was right. There was no longer a safety net for the rapture, and Abraham was headless no more. Next, they trekked to the site where the entrance to Purgatory stood. Ichabod, Jenny, and Gavin each discussed about rescuing Abby and finding the key, plus meeting the Demon King for real by the young warrior. Suddenly, a large portion of dying land fell into a deep chasm which opened from the burning earth. Over the pit, magma was seen, and rising from it. Ichabod made haste to the secret lair he recognized. Jenny wondered if this was the start of the fifth trumpet being blown, as a great star would fall to the earth which would unlock a great void, and the smoke would block out the sun completely, while at the same time release the locusts laid by Abaddon, one of the three woes. They followed a twisted, dried-up stream only it was supposed to be full of water, and looked to be an enwrapping snake. Ichabod led the group to the forked tongue, and ancient bricks and some tall stone slabs awaited them. There too was a glyph that had a secret message, as above, so below, it read in hieroglyphics. It was beneath there where Ichabod fought off Abraham, where the sword of Methuselah was found, along with an intruding Gorgon. He describes a few people were literally petrified there, including one of the mill's ancestors, M. Dixon. This is the place. Remember this place well. Hell, I even used this while I was honing my new skills, even the devil's trap. Although, I couldn't use it since I never captured a demon. The horseman must be down there, although she'd never been there since she was escorting an escapee, Frank Irving, across the border. She looked at Ichabod in a nervous expression. Then, there's no time to waste. I must go there. We'll be waiting for you. Hurry back. Good luck, Brownbeard. We'll bring you back if all goes wrong. We promise you that. It was a quick, deep smooch before he took out the demon slayer, then lit a torch from Gavin's borrowed lighter, large a branch with a cloth. Slowly opened the two large doors with the rusted handles weathered by the elements and tiptoed down the spiraling staircase. He noticed the stone statues were still there, watching over him. Gavin described them and M. Dixon as the Gorgon's victims, then recited the phrase, "Know thyself completely, or perish when you attempt to see." Jenny mentions he still has the head inside one of the underbelly chambers. They all looked at the rear of their right hands. The virtue of prudence was still illuminating. Aside from this, his loafers hitting the cement, the other sound he heard was from his racing heart. Ichabod Crane! He heard a voice that was all too familiar to him. Looked behind him, and over his shoulder he beheld the sight of the former friend. Abraham! At last we meet again! Drew out his burning axe. Revolutionary gently laid down the torch, holding his pupil's weapon in a tight grasp. Finally, you will meet your demise, Ichabod Crane. There will be no way anyone could ever save you since Katrina is gone. You will die, and your body shall rot in the ground of a dying nation you have fought for, and your precious Katrina won't put you to sleep again. For you see, she's been with me in hell, and that is where you will meet your end. The pleasure is all mine. It comes down to this. I will destroy you. Constant clangs of metal clashing against metal rang in the duelist's ears, as well as the onlookers. Gavin was enthusiastically cheering for his compatriot down below, although Jenny had to shush him since chances are Death would hear them. Oh,